And then as people are joining through the link, it has my name on the when people enter. So if anyone wants to change that, you do it by putting your cursor on the upper right corner of your video box, and there should be a place that says rename, and you click on that, and that drops down, and you can do a rename. So I apologize for that, but since we are remote and doing this meeting through Zoom, there is a script that I'm supposed to read that I've been directed to read by the town. So let me proceed by the script, and then we'll get going. So as a preliminary matter, this is Daniel Dane, Chair of the Needham Golf Club Advisory Committee. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Roy Kramer.
Yes.
John Schneider.
Yes.
Richard Riley.
Yes.
Jack Heavey. Okay. And then Chris Gersto. No, no sign of Chris. Okay. And then anticipated speakers on the agenda. Rick Zambone, I think you're the one speaker today.
Yeah, here. Bob Ernst is also here from the.
Okay, great. And then we have a special guest today, Paul Brockman. I should mention, he lives near the club and has an interest in joining us. For those who did not hear, Mary Grace has retired from our committee. And so she has suggested that Paul may be interested in joining, and he's gonna watch us today to see if this is something of interest. And of course, we have another special visitor today, Dan Matthews from the Select Board. Thrilled to have him participate in the meeting today. So continuing the script, good evening. This open meeting of the Needham Golf Club Advisory Committee is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. For this meeting, the Needham Golf Club Advisory Committee is convening by Zoom app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting may be recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you, and that take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. So with that, why don't we call the meeting to order? And the first item on the agenda is approving the minutes from the last meeting, which I previously circulated. I think we are supposed to do this officially by motion. So do we have a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. And with that, I turn it over to Rick for the report of the golf club.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, committee members. We have provided a letter, which I believe Dan has circulated, which kind of outlines where we've been over the past year. Obviously, it's been an unusual year for everybody, not just us at the golf course. But we specifically addressed a number of issues in the letter. I'm not going to read it because I believe everybody's received a copy of it. So I'll just talk about some of the highlights. We have we've had a pretty significant year, at least initially. We had to shut down the function business and the restaurant business, so we couldn't use those facilities. The function hall and the function business stayed closed for the entire year. And so that's been the only thing that we used that for over the course of the year. was we hosted two elections there. We were asked by the town if they could use the facility, and so we hosted the primaries as well as the presidential election for precincts E and H. And that the feedback I got is it worked out fine. People were very happy with being able to use it. Our function room is rather a large facility, and we have all of the COVID regulations in place, the one-way flows, the sanitization, the disinfection. So that all worked out fine.
I even got my picture taken.
Oh, you did? I didn't realize that, Dick. Very good. But yeah, so it's been an unusual year. Early on, we were real concerned about the financial wherewithal of the club, particularly with golf being shut down for the end of April, good part of May, the entire month of April, I guess, and where we were restricted, as every club in the state was, to initially, once we were able to start back up, to 15-minute intervals between tee times, special procedures that we had to go. I talked a little bit about this at our last meeting. And so we managed the club, quite honestly, we managed the club by really paying very close attention to cash and cash flow. Obviously, the budgets went out the window, and we really looked at how we can best survive, because as we forecasted towards the end of the year, we anticipated running out of cash, be able to continue to operate the club in September. So we had to take a number of drastic steps, which included furloughing a number of employees while we were shut down. So we went down to bare bones staff. We requested and received a 3-month stay of our mortgage payment for the clubhouse with the Needham Bank. Also, over the course of the year, we wound up refinancing the clubhouse, knocking off almost a full percentage point off of the mortgage rate, interest rate that we were paying. That didn't really take effect until just recently, the last month or so. We also worked closely with Kate Fitzpatrick and Dave Davison to, we asked for and were granted a suspension of the lease payments for 6 months in the early part of this 2020 fiscal year. Is it fiscal year 2021, excuse me. And so that meant we deferred all of the lease payments for July through December. And the arrangement we had with the town is that we would double the lease payments starting in January to make up for that loss. And we worked that out. They were very gracious and kind. And again, we did that primarily to conserve cash. We didn't know how long this was going to go, and it continued for a while. One of the bright spots, and for those of you who are involved in golf or play at clubs or running clubs like Dick is, we've seen a tremendous surge in participation on golf. As I indicated in the memo I sent out, our average rounds for this year, and we do it on a 9-hole equivalent basis, have exceeded over 30,000 rounds, which is almost 35% higher than what we ordinarily do based on the 5-year average over the last 5 years. Similarly, the same situation occurred with resident play. Resident play, again, for the equivalent of 9-hole rounds, went through the roof. And the play has created some unique situations and unique problems for us. We had to constantly try and revise the tee system to handle the changing of the tee time intervals as we went through the year, from 15 minutes to every 12 minutes, and now we're down to every 9 minutes, and that seems to be working out. But we post for the members we post the ability to log on and get a tea time at 7 o'clock in the morning for 5 days ahead. As of 7:05, it's usually all full for the day. So people have learned to get up. We've got multiple, it's like trying to get the lottery. We've got multiple people logging on a whole bit. And what we found is we found a very similar situation. Once we were able to get a automated tea time system up for the residents, the same situation happened. Residents starting on Thursday morning can log in and book a tea time for the following Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And sure enough, all of the most sought after tea times for the residents were booked early on in the process. Now, you could always get a single to group up with a threesome, but it's really golf. The golf industry has expanded across the board, and we're not sure if this is just a one-year phenomena or whether this is going to continue. Based on our membership is now full. We have a wait list that's developed for the course. Right now for class 1 and 2 members, we've got a wait list of over 10 people, and that's continuing to grow. We get people still putting in applications. Class 1 and 2 are the members that play on anytime they want, weekends during the week. So we've capped that, and we've started to develop a wait list. We've also now put a freeze or create a wait list on all the other classes except for the social class. And so our social membership, it's kind of tough to justify, I'm sure, for a social member because they haven't been able to use the clubhouse or the facilities. So they can get food now, and over the course of the winter, or over the course of the summer, we started off at takeout services, and we now have takeout. We also have bulk takeout. We have a bulk catering menu, so that if people want to order food for a holiday, we're now providing single meals and Thanksgiving turkey and stuffing and all that stuff for anybody who wants it. We've also partnered for this coming Thanksgiving and also for the Christmas holidays with the community council. They were struggling to find a place to cook the meals for the folks in town who typically they provide meals for around the holidays. Part of that process is they work with various other organizations in town, like the Rotary Club, to deliver these meals. And so they had no place to cook the food. So we agreed to host the food preparation in our kitchen. So the day before Thanksgiving, and I'm not sure when it is in December, maybe Bob, do you know?
I don't know exactly. Yeah.
All right. But what we do is we're going to package up the ready-made meals for families and for individuals. And then the same process as the community council did previously. They will work with another agency in town. They'll come by, pick up the meals, and then they'll deliver them the day before Thanksgiving. So we're filling a need there that they had around town. Sandy Robinson from the community council came to us and asked if we could do that because they're struggling to find a place to go do that. So that's kind of the highlights of the year. Where we are financially right now, with all the measures we took, we've really ended up the year in solid financial footing. And we've got a budget for next year that assumes that there will be no functions going forward. We also applied for, we weren't eligible for the payroll protection program because we're a 501c7 organization. And that's a club. And as a club, someone apparently thought that we shouldn't be getting the benefits that some of the other nonprofits get. So we never got that eligibility to apply for those funds. But what we were able to do is we were able to request under the employee retention program, if we had lost business and had to lay off people over the course of the year, which we did, we could apply for payroll funds to bring these people back. And we've done that. We've applied. We qualified for it. There's a max cap on it. We qualified that for fund reimbursement for the second and third quarter of 2020. However, we haven't received the check from the government yet.
It's in the mail.
Yeah, it's in the mail. I'm not sure. We've been promised, we've been told, but everybody we talked to, no one's gotten that check yet. No one's received that check. So we're waiting, and we've planned accordingly just in case somebody changes their mind and we don't get to receive that money. So we've made contingency plans. In fact, that occurs next year. But right now, our planning and our budgeting for next year is on a very conservative basis. Where, you know, as we say, we plan for the worst and hope for the best. And that's kind of the way we're operating right now. So with that, anybody have any questions or subject matter they'd like to talk about?
Any issue, you know, sort of the standard questions we ask, any issues with the neighborhood during the season, noise complaints and otherwise?
No, not that I'm aware of. We did have a discussion with one of the neighbors who purchased a home right on the corner of the driveway. And they decided they were going to put a fence up. The problem is they put the fence up 6 to 8 feet onto our property line. So we had a nice conversation, and we've made some arrangements, and they're happy, we're happy. And so it worked out. But other than that, I haven't heard of anything else at all, Ben.
Any traffic or parking issues?
No. Surprisingly, even with and it must be because of all the mail-in ballots, we were concerned that on election day we'd have a problem, but we did not.
And I assume the answer, I think your letter addressed this, but it's one of the things I think we need to ask under the lease. In accepting new members, there's been no discrimination on the basis of any protected class?
None whatsoever. Up until July, we accepted everybody who wanted to apply were admitted. And then as of July, all the folks were on a waiting list, and they'll be brought in accordance with the lease terms next year based on residency and the 90-10 rule.
And you, for the whole season, you complied with the resident days and hours?
Yes and no. Okay. At the beginning of the year, residents were not allowed to play like everyone else. When we did finally start up with residents, it was for resident play only. There was no park and rec league this year, again, because of the COVID situation, which turned out to be surprising. I think it worked out much better because residents really wanted to play on that Tuesday morning slot where there's currently, the league was previously. So that worked out fine. The other interesting fact is that almost 99% of the residents preferred to play 9-hole rounds. And if they wanted to play 18, they just booked the second 9. But no one, I think we had 2 people who did that over the course of the year. So we've really truly been a 9-hole club for residents, and residents seem to like that. They have the opportunity to go to 18 holes, but there was no real desire to do it, I guess, would be the best way to describe it. So otherwise, other than that, they had to abide by the same rules for social distancing, wearing a mask. They couldn't touch the pins. What we did is we hired a couple course rangers, and what we used the rangers for was to go around and remind people of the rules that were in place, the need to social distance, the need to have your masks on You couldn't congregate in the parking lot. I mean, this is for members as well as for residents. When you wanted to use the practice putting green or the chipping area, it had to be cleared through the pro shop. There were only so many people that could be beyond the facility at each time. And we asked people to not show up for their tea time until 15 minutes before they would do the tee off. And that worked out well. The other thing we did with just from a COVID protection perspective is we purchased, I guess the best way to call it would be shower curtains. These plastic drop down separators for the seats, so that once two people were allowed in a cart, they were able to separate by this plastic sheet so that you were able to sit COVID protected once we were allowed to do that. So that worked out well.
And the reservation system, if I recall from last year, I think you were in the process of setting up an online reservation system for members, and that the general public or Needham residents, I guess, were going to be in a second phase. It sounds like both phases were up and operating this year. How did that go?
Well, let me talk about the members T
Okay.
system. We tried to incorporate the residents into the member T system.
Yeah.
And that didn't work. They tried for over 3 months to get that done. So we finally made a decision to stop. We've been having problems with the company that provides the T system. And so we've got a study group together, a little subcommittee to go out and find an alternative T system for the membership. We have found a T system that they were able to set up in 2 weeks for the residents. It's up and running on the resident website, just a general website. Originally, we had hoped to be able to handle payments through that T system, but we found that just created too many issues trying to integrate that T system into our payment program. So what we do now is people register and then they pay when they get to the club. And that seems to work fine. I personally haven't used the T system. I don't know, Dan, have you used it? You're muted.
No, I have not, but I'm glad to see that the resident play is up, and so we will see. Yeah, I played once at the beginning of the season when the new system wasn't working, but we were able to get out and play, and it was great. And then other matters had required my attention since then, but this is an excellent report.
Okay, good.
Another topic of discussion, I think from last year, was some discussion of if there were tea times during the resident time period that weren't being filled by the residents, would members be allowed to make reservations during those times? It sounds like that ended up not being an issue because the resident demand was so high, but do you want to just talk to
Yeah,
about that?
it was not an issue, but Dan, what we did is we instituted a policy that said that if there were, and we talked about this before, if there were tea times available 24 hours in advance, then a member could call the pro shop and ask. And you know, those situations this past year have been few and far between because the T system has been booked. But they're not allowed to do it unless there's an opening 24 hours in advance. So the residents have from Thursday on to book tea times. So if some member wanted to play Sunday at after 3, then they would have to call the pro shop Saturday after 3 and ask if there was an open tea time. And then they would be manually slotted in. And that's worked out fine.
And the course is still open, play is continuing right now?
It is open. The T system is shut down because residents typically are not allowed to play after the 1st of November because matter of fact, we're closing the pro shop this weekend, so there'll be no one there to monitor. That doesn't mean residents don't walk on the course, because we continue to have the problem. And I just had a member ask the question. We've got our annual meeting coming up this Saturday. And I've had one member wanting to know, how can we prevent people walking their kids in strollers on the course in the middle of the golf season? How do we keep dogs on leashes and off of the course during the summer? And also now that we're getting to the colder weather, people don't realize apparently that we have a dog park on the other side of town. They view the Needham Golf Club as a golf park. So, you know, and we've got people out jogging. You know, about a month ago, I was on the top of the hill in the 9th hole, and we're getting ready to tee off. And for those of you who don't know, there's a pathway that comes up. It's usually the way you go down off of the 9th tee, but you can also come up that pathway. And we're just getting ready to tee the ball off when a husband and wife decided to jog up that pathway. And if it wasn't for one of the guys noticing a head coming over the edge of the tee box, they could have very easily got hit with a golf ball. And, you know, oblivious. Don't, you know, I'm a resident of the town, therefore I can use this land, is the attitude we tend to get. So.
An issue for, I think, 2 seasons ago or so, maybe 3 seasons ago, it was very wet season, which was not our problem this year, but there was some rot on the greens. I assume there has not been any issues with that, and otherwise the course was in good shape this year.
Yeah, we did have, if you remember, we did experience a significant period of time without any rain.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of drought conditions, but Tim Hood, superintendent, has done an absolute fantastic job. And we had no issues at all with the course this year. It's in great shape, and the wet wilt problem we had a couple of years ago is long gone and forgotten.
Great. Other questions from the other members of the committee?
Yeah, I just would like to say a few things. One, granted, I have a huge bias for golf, but absent that, I think the Needham Golf Club is a huge asset for our community, and I applaud Rick and the other members of the Needham Golf Club for what they've done for us. You've had a couple of tough years, as we mentioned, the wilt condition, and now this year. Congratulations for the job you're doing and the commitment you've made to being a positive citizen in the town. Thanks.
Thank you, Dick. Appreciate it.
And I would like that recorded in the minutes, please.
I will make sure to add it.
Yeah, I agree. My question is, did you get goats over there?
Oh, yeah, we've had, the goats have been there now for, 2.5 years.
Yeah,
We purchased them. We own them. We have a goat pen. They go around the course, and they are a tremendous asset as far as getting rid of any poison ivy out there. We also use them by the wetlands to trim back the bushes and stuff. We had a little bit of a controversy this year with the goats. The names of the goats are Birdie, Bogey, and Brady. And people wanted to change Brady's name once a certain individual moved out of town. So there was a survey done amongst the membership, and it was decided that after all those years of good service, Brady should remain named as the goat.
I'll also say during the
I
time,
haven't seen them running around the neighborhood, so somebody's controlling them.
Yeah, no, they're confined everywhere they go. They have a permanent pen over by the maintenance area, but they're everywhere they are on the course. They're surrounded, or corralled by an electric fence, and by electric, it bothers the goats, but it doesn't bother the people. It's hooked up to a battery, and we've had some members go over and grab the fence, and no, you're not supposed to do that, but nobody gets shocked by it. And honestly, depending upon where they are, it's a great attraction for kids in the neighborhood. I know my little 3-year-old grandson, every time he goes by the golf course, he says, goats, goats, because he wants me to pull down the maintenance road and show him the goats in the pen. So it's, and people enjoy it. You know?
Yeah, during the time when the course was closed, actually, they were quite the attraction. I saw a lot of kids and families going down to, it was like a petting zoo. It was great.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments from the committee members? Or from the public?
Yeah, and I would just add, and I think you've kind of spoken to this, Rick, but I think we're looking at this COVID environment in a form, something like the level of restrictions that we're at, going pretty much likely to be much like this up until the end of next year's golf season. But you think you're well situated to be able to weather that?
Yeah, Dan, just to talk another moment for and amplify a little bit, we've just finished the budget process because we have to present next year's budget to the membership on Saturday. And as part of that process, we tried to come up with a realistic expectation of when we'd be able to get back to normal, not the new normal, but normal operations. And we made the assessment that even with a vaccine, it would not be available enough to allow the governor to go to his phase 4, which would allow us to get back to running functions and having the bar service and all that other stuff. We anticipated we wouldn't see that till probably the end of the 3rd quarter at the earliest, which would be September or October next year. So that's how we planned, and that's how the budget's planned. And that's where it gets back to plan for the worst, hope for the best. If we wind up earlier than that, then we have contingency budgets available for our entertainment committee to run functions for the members. And we also have the wherewithal and the ability to run private functions as well. And, we've got obviously, a number of people in town who have used the function hall, including the Exchange Club and other people like that. A lot of people run their holiday parties at the club. For a while there, we were hosting at least 1 or 2 bar mitzvahs a month at the club. It seemed to work out fine. The kids got the function room, the parents got the grill room. But all that's on hold until phase 4 is opened up by the governor.
Thank you.
Anything else from anyone? Should we select a date? Traditionally, we meet the first time each year in April, I think. Generally mid-month or so, although I'm not positive what April vacation is next year. But I think in the past, didn't we meet on Mondays? Although today's a Wednesday. Wednesdays are fine with me. Does anyone have a strong preference on day of the week?
Wednesday can be a problem for the finance committee meetings. Mondays are pretty clear.
Monday's better, generally. Let me just,
Dan, there tends to be less town meetings on a Monday, which works out good. I'm missing a community preservation committee meeting tonight to be here. That's probably where Chris Gershel is, because he's on that committee as well. So Monday would probably work out better because that committee always meets on a Wednesday.
do we know if Patriots Day, I just don't have it up on a calendar. I can look it up. Patriots Day, is that the 12th or the 19th? Do we know?
Don't know.
Not sure it makes a big difference, does it?
Well, some people might be away for the,
Yeah, you got school vacation coming up. I'm not sure where that's going to be in the spring.
yeah. April 19 is Patriots Day next year. So how about April 12?
That's fine.
Fine by me.
7:30?
Good.
Okay. Any other business that anyone has?
Nope, not I.
All right, I think we can adjourn.
Thank you, gentlemen. Stay
Thank you,
safe.
Greg. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Bob. Thank you,
Great job.
Dan.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Paul. for
Dan, can you
joining
take a vote? Can you do a roll call?
us. All
Roll
right.
call, adjourn?
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
All right, all in favor? Aye.
aye.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Sandy.